Hello YouTube and welcome back to my channel. I've been gone for a little bit, but today we're going to be talking about my Guatemala Special Event report and how I did. For those of you who follow me on Facebook and Twitter, you already know how I finished, so thank you all for the kind words and everything. But we will go into my deck choice for the tournament, why I chose it, and how everything went down. Alright, so I went with tried and true PikaRom because PikaRom and yellow decks have been doing me well this season. Since their inception, I got top 16 over in Australia, and then I got top 32 over in Collinsville with Zeptos Jolteon, and then did well at a cup, did well at a challenge with both those decks again. And so going into an unknown meta where I didn't really know what to expect, who to expect, I didn't know if any fellow U.S. players were traveling down there, anything of that nature. I was a little bit worried, so I decided to go with a deck that would be consistent and set up almost every game and do what it's got to do regardless of what's sitting across the table. And for me, that deck was PikaRom. It was that or Zapdos Beasts, and I chose to go with PikaRom because it has a higher damage output, and something like Blacephalon or Zoroark, you have a chance of just smashing in the face because you can win early. And I was a little bit afraid of that DDG control deck that just came out due to Caleb Gettimer's recent win over in Denver. So I headed down there with my good friend and team captain Jose Moreno, and Jose was on his figure that he thinks could beat the whole field, and I was on this. And then we met up with our friend Abe Morales, who was set on the DDG control, and we didn't know who else would be there, so we headed over to the venue the next day. The first day was just chilling, didn't do much. I was very tired. I had some schoolwork to get done, so I did that. And then we made our way over to the venue in the morning. And in the morning of, I decided to cut the 10th energy for the third Jirachi. And before I forget, because I almost forgot, I'll go over the list real fast. Just let you guys know what's in here for what. If you haven't already heard a million PikaRom explanations, you get another one. The 1-1 Jolteon is really good for Mir, as well as dealing with Zapdos decks. It's a very, very, very good attacker in that install as well. The Absol is in place of the Wobbuffet at the current moment because I expected more decks like Malamar and Zapdos who required the retreat as opposed to Zoroark decks. I was a little bit wrong on that, which was, tough in an unknown meta, but I expected the metagame to still be Jirachi stuff and, that kind of stuff. Two Pikazax attackers, you usually only use one, but you have two just in case one's prize. Coco Prism, Coco GX, very self-explanatory. Two Zapdos for Thunderous Assault and the babies. One Sorora, Fairy Tree's really good. It's also a really good attacker. 3 Jirachi. I opted for consistency because when you're going into an unknown meta and there's so few rounds that accruing 2 losses pretty much eliminates you from the entire tournament. And it's not like a bigger regionals where you can afford to take risks because you can afford 2 losses in day 1 and at least a loss in day 2. You have more rounds in a bigger regionals, but in a small special event like this, you need to play something that's very consistent and will get there every single time, as opposed to having some cute tips and like cute techs and tricks in your deck. The March Let Loose is a very staple now in the decks, and I opted to continue playing the Lele because I think it's asinine not to play the Lele. It's insane consistency. It digs you any of your supporters and makes sure you don't brick really hard turn 1. It makes your Ultra Ball into a supporter if you have it in the deck as a hit every single time. So I believe that it needs to stay in the deck. 4 E-Power, 2 E-Switch, 1 Rope, 3 Nest Ball. This is a little bit, those are all self-explanatory. The Rescue Switcher is something I was trying out because it's a card that I've always wanted in the deck, but I've never really felt like I needed to put in. And I kind of had a flex slot here and there, so I said, why not, let's try out the Stretcher this time around. If not, the Stretcher was going to probably become a second choice band, or a singular copy of Field Blower was something I was thinking about, because it's Vulcan searchable, and Field Blower would just give me a third like stadium out, and would also be really good against like opposing Jirachi Zapdos, where I can get rid of their blow away their boards, and use my Viridian and just immediately get rid of it or something like that. Everything else is pretty much stuff. I like Erica's way more than Cynthia's because it is simply, you don't have to reshuffle your hand back in, and it fetches you a lot of cards. So in addition to the play you already have, it gives you a lot more cards to make a secondary play or give you options. And a lot of the time you net 4, maybe 5 cards, and if you're against a Zoroark deck or something like that, it nets you 6. And so as opposed to shuffle drawing into that 6, you already have like 3 or 4 cards in hand, and you Ericas to go up to like 10 cards, and it's just insane what that can do for you. I think 3 Vulcan are still correct. We were trying out a weakness policy because I think I expected there to be Zorok and like beast type decks, and I expected some lightning hate because it's where the format's been recently, and so I decided to opt for the weakness policy. So round 1, so we get there. We see that there are 3 other American locals from my Florida locals who are not names by any means, but they are there. They're people. And I think they're all vying for their invite. I think one of them is pretty close, I want to say. So we see them. We ask them where the shop is. They said they're not turning in their list until like the very end or whatever, because they just want to figure it out, because once your list is in, your list is in. Me and Jose were like dead set on our list, so we were not going to change anything. We walk up. There's a bunch of locals turning in their lists. So we go ahead and turn on our list and pay the money. It's like 9:15 p.m. Start time is, or closing everything is 10 p.m. Start time was supposed to be like 10:15, 10:30. And so this is all happening. And then they call over our junior Lex Piccolo to do a deck check. And we're like, okay, that's kind of strange before the event to do a deck check for our junior. Which is fine. They just did the deck check. They pretty much called him to like the middle of the room, and they like laid out his entire list and like did it. And I was just like, okay, this is very strange. This is like the other junior's not here, so it's good because there's only 2 juniors. But I was like, this is very strange. And then they proceed to call my senior Regan and myself over, and I asked if I could sort my own deck and hand it to him for the check. And he said sure. So I took a second, sorted my entire deck. This is still before the tournament's begun. I sorted my entire deck, and I handed him the deck, and then he quite literally flipped over my list face up in front of a gigantic crowd, I think the entire tournament, and began laying out my entire list on the table as I'm sitting there lamenting, flipping my list back over multiple times, basically yelling at this dude, like, please stop at this point. I can, like, literally, like, I understand Spanish, but I didn't let on the fact that I do. So I can hear my, like, potential opponents literally talking about my list in front of me as I'm infuriated. And my senior counterpart, Regan Retzloff, sitting right to my right, was also undergoing the same thing, so he was feeling the pressure. And so I walked out, and I was like, whatever, are they going to... And I asked, is deck checks for everybody? And they said, yeah, deck checks are for everybody. I said, okay, cool. And then they call in Jose next, and then they do Jose's. And then they call on our friend Abe Morales, and they call on Abe, and then they said, oh, we don't have time for anybody else's deck list. And so I go up and ask, hey, why is it that you only deck checked like us for 5 American players? There's 2 other seniors, there's another junior, there's like 25 other masters. And he just said, because we trust our local players and we want to make sure like you guys are, on the right page kind of thing. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is very strange because they did a public deck check in front of everybody, which, was a little bit infuriating for me because all my opponents knew what I was playing beforehand. They were all talking. Like I could understand what they were saying. Granted, my Spanish responding wasn't great, but I understood what I was saying. But I didn't let on that I did during my rounds. I did, however. But so I'm already off to I'm feeling pretty heated. They tell us that we're not starting until 11, pretty much, because they're like, our locals show up at 10 if we say 10. 10 is the end of Reg, so they show up at 10. So we started at 11. Round 1, I go up against PikaRom. Game 1, I have a really slow start where I missed an energy for 3 to 4 turns. I lilied for 7 or something, missed an energy. And Coco Prism was prized. And game 2, missed, I just missed an energy, I just missed a bunch. And then I knocked, and then I lost the game pretty quickly. Game 2, we engaged in a very quick PikaRom battle, where he went PikaRom, I went PikaRom. Or I went with the first PikaRom, I think, and then he went PikaRom into my PikaRom and didn't kill it, but full blitzed. And then I killed him and put energies onto the board, and then he went in with his GX Coco, and then I Coco GX'd him for game, because that's pretty much how the matchup goes. Game 3, we were trading blows back and forth, and I couldn't really do anything about his massive hand, because I Marshadowed pretty early, and I prized Stretcher, even though he knocked out my Marshadow. So I was digging for that Stretcher. And the game came down to, we were at 2-2 prizes, and I had a Lily for I think 5. out of a 15, 16 card deck with 2 powers and the choice band still on deck. I need to hit one of those to end the game. I miss it there, and then I go ahead and Jirachi, miss it, and then I nest ball. No, not nest ball. I bench the Jirachi out of my hand. I retreat because I have the switch in hand to knock out if I need to. So I retreat into the other Jirachi, and then I Jirachi once more to see if I can get it, and I missed on both accounts. And so I passed the Jirachi active, and he, with like his 20 card hand at this point, had Guzma with double E power, I think it was, that he needed to knock me out, and he got me there. So I start the day 0-1. Not feeling too hot. I was pretty heated, honestly. I was a little upset. I took my grievances to Twitter. I was a little bit upset with the whole way the day was starting. I observed some fudged rulings where like one of the American player Abe Morales' opponents literally went Lele, grabbed the Cynthia and shuffled his hand in and was given a warning. So that was pretty cool. Instead of a double prize penalty or game loss, which, you know, that was pretty cool. As Abe is trying to stop him the entire time, and Abe does speak Spanish, so that was pretty cool. And then there was like a bunch of there was some situation with the junior and marked cards with one of his opponents. But anyway, round 2 starts, and I'm paired up against Zoro Rock Weavile, I believe. Yeah, Zoro Rock Weavile. Game 1, I just absolutely smash him like super quickly. Like he doesn't get a Rockruff down. He does get the Ditto down, but I just kill it. And then he went with a bunch of Zoruas. I don't know if his rocks were prized. He benched like double Sneasel, I think, early, which did absolutely nothing. Because I had like one Jirachi and like the Marshadow in play and like no other abilities. So I didn't really have a chance to get knocked out by that Weavile ever. So yeah, I just won game 1. And then game 2, I like pretty much, well, he tried to trade 3 times with 2 Zoroark in play. And I was like, no, listen here, buddy. And I like just hunted down his Rockruffs. Like, yeah, I just killed them as fast as I could. And his Ditto, I missed an energy turn 1, so I literally Guzman up his Ditto and passed. Yeah. And so I did that, and he evolved it into a Zoroark, which meant there was going to be no Muck coming down the following turn. So I pretty much just went ham and just like dealt with him, and I won it like a couple turns. Game 3 on against Zoro Lucario Weavile. Game 1, I completely destroyed him. He never got more than one Railu down at a time, I think. He did get the Muck down, but that worked against his own advantage because he did have the Weavile in his deck, so he couldn't use his Weavile. Game 2, I set up way too slow, and I found out that game that he did play Blower, because he blowed off my weakness policy on my Zorora, which kind of sucked because I didn't expect that to happen. He went Blower the Zorora, Guzma it up, and then knock it out because I thought I was safe from, that knockout. And I lost the game because of that, because I put all my eggs into one basket. And that was the basket, and I didn't have a response after that because he got the Muck down. And then game 3 came down to the wire, but there was a situation where I looked at his discard. He had Weavile gone, Blower gone, Stretcher gone, and he had a Weavile on the active and Sneeze on the bench. And this time it did matter because I knocked out every Muck out that he had. He got a Muck out. I killed the Muck. And I had 4 abilities in play. I had Jirachi, Zapdos, Lele, and Zorora, I believe. So, and my PikaRom already hit 60 damage on it. So I knew I had to make a play where I had to attack with either PikaRom or Zeraora, and I would be exposing myself to a potential KO. And so I went ahead, and he had a Railu on the bench, and I was like, do I kill the Railu or do I kill the Weavile? And I had 1 E-Power left. So I went ahead and E-Power killed his Weavile with my Zapdos, instead of Zorora or Pikazek. Pikazek had a policy on it at this point. No, it was a Zorora with a policy. There was no Pikazek on my bench. I'm lying to you. There was no Pikazek on my bench. Zorora with 3 energies and a policy on it. And then he does trade, and then he goes Guzma up to Zorora, and I'm like, oh, he's got a second blower. I lost the game, kind of thing. Turns out he didn't have the second blower, and then he just hit me, and then with Lucario, and then I draw, and I have like 3 Guzmas in hand, so I just Guzma up like the Marshadow or something on his bench and just kill it because I had 1 prize left. Um, and then we talked after the game, and he was like, "Yeah, my stretcher was gone. I only play one blower. They didn't really have any other out, but I had to like take 2 prizes. So I just brought up the Zoro and hit it, and hoping that you would hit me because all 4 of your E-powers were gone. And you had policy on the active, and I was like, yeah, it was a play you had to make, but I literally hadn't played like I played like 1 Guzma all game, so I had 3 Guzma in deck, and he didn't judge me or anything. He just Guzma, so I was able to take that and go at 2-1. The next round I played against a Pikazek Mirror. So this is where things get a little strange. We set up, we start, and 2 minutes in, they tell us to stop because they're going to repair us because somebody dropped and left. And we were like, okay, what? Can't you just like give him the... He's literally gone, so can't you just give him the forfeit? They said no because he dropped with like redo the whole tournament, and we're like, okay, that's not cool. So they did repair like everybody outside, but the top table's pairing stayed the exact same. So we continued playing, and everybody was given a 15-minute extension, I want to say, which was kind of ridiculous because, like, I had already finished game 1 by the time they stopped us because my opponent was playing Pika Pads, Andrew Mahone's list, and, like, he went super aggressive, and I just Coco GX'd him, and he scooped the game, like, immediately because he had no follow-up. And so I had already finished game 1, like, 2.5 minutes into the series, and here we are having the judges tell us that we need to stop the game and we might have to repair. And I was like, oh boy, this is not fun. And then they ended up keeping like table 1, 2, 3, and 4, I think, were the exact same. And then the outside tables shuffled around a little bit. I don't know exactly what happened because we were on the inside of the store and there was like a mall area where they were all playing. So I didn't really understand what was going on there. And then we came back. I ended up winning that game, and then game 2, same thing pretty much happened where like he opened Coco GX, which was really bad for him game 2, and then he went attach Marshadow pass, and then I went like draw. I had opened Jirachi, so I Jirachi into the Lily, and then I had switch in hand and Nest Ball, so I Nest Ball for the Zapdos, Lilied for like 6 or something, and then switched into Zapdos energy hit. And then he like drew, and then he like attached and went Thunder Mountain knockout, and then I went like draw, Nest Ball for like another Zappy, basically set up my whole board, and then I killed him, and then he promoted the Marshadow, and then he like top decked, and he was about to scoop, and then he top decked like a Cynthia or something, and set up the board, and then he like put an energy on his Pikazek, and then I went like Guzma up the Pikazek, smack it, and then he went like attach full blitz on my Zapdos, and then I went like draw, and then I just went like, draw, and then I went. I think I attacked with something. I don't remember what. I attacked with something and then he scooped up his cards because I went down to 1 prize and he like pretty much had nothing left in play. So I go to 3-1 and then last round I go up against Jose. We ID. We're in cut. Happy days for me and Jose. He finally got points. Top 8 I go up against Zapdos. Florida local Zachary Stover. He's playing Zapdos. I was told it was Pika Pads. So I'm expecting Pika Pads, and he opens Coco GX game 1. So I'm still thinking in my mind Pika Pads. And so I set up a Pikazek and I full blitz this guy, and pretty much kill the Coco GX. And then to my dismay, he benches like double Zapdos, like Shrine, and I was like, what the hell's going on? This isn't what I thought it was. But I pretty much like locked the board, and he like never got any draw off because he like didn't open Jirachi or like never went into Jirachis, and my Absol pretty much just like ruined him early, and so I just won the game. And then game 2. He was forced to expend, I think, 2 switches and a rope super early to actually just attack me. And the 3rd switch and his last rope were both gone after a while. And then like I realized like he could never move those Jirachi. So every time he Jirachi, he'd just be like Jirachi, like needing all the pieces like Zapdos, Energy, Guzma or something. And that meant my guy in the active was like always safe. And so like I pretty much just did that to my advantage. I just used like 1 Jolteon to clean up the rest of the game. I like Jolteon took like 4 prizes by itself. It was like 1 Electro Bullet, 2 were Electro Bullet, because I killed 3 actual Electro Bullet because I Electro Bulleted. I had already hit an Oranguru before, so I Electro Bulleted to kill Zapdos Oranguru, hit the Oranguru, and then kill another Zapdos, kill the Oranguru, and then I GX'd, and then I think he like picked up his cards or something like that at that point. Or he like I think that's when he used his last rope Guzma, and then like I was like whatever, cool, I win. Top 4 I'll go up against Zor Control. It's not the DDG list. It's a little bit different because he's playing this colorless Persian that puts your hand into 4. and he's playing the Meowth, and he's playing this Sableye, Limitation Sableye. So we go into the match, and game one, his strategy is very weird. He goes like for the heavy muck line, he sets up the heavy muck line, and then he begins limitationing me. And then I like kill his limitation, the guy with Zapdos, and then he crushing hammered, it worked, and then he like passed, and then I like drew, and then like attached to Pikazak and I passed, and he like drew, passed, and then I like attached to Pikazak, passed, and then like drew, and I pretty much like full blitzed, and then he like drew, and then he like bench double Zorua, and then I was like Guzma Zorua, tag bolt, kill both, and then he scooped, which was really strange. And then game two, he began doing the limitation strategy once more, but this time he was setting up Zorworks on the bench. And I like attached a bunch to my Pikazak on the bench, and then he Guzman it up like 16 turns in or something. Like I had like a 30 card hand at this point because we were just draw passing off like limitations, and I was just going attach pass kind of thing. And he brought it up, attached to dumbbells, and smacked me, and I went choice band triple E power, full blitz, knockout, power up a second Pikazak. No, power up a Zorora is what it is. Powered up a Zorora, and he went draw, Mallow, and he mallowed for 2 cards, and then he traded, and then he immediately Cynthia and just judged and shoveled his hand in. I just like tried to stop him. He didn't attach a DC or anything either, because he when he was doing a limitation log, I tried to Guzma stall and he retreated 2 times, so he was down 3 DCE. So I think the 4th one was prized anyway. But and then he told me that after the end that it was, I think, prized, and then he was just like, "Oh, my bad, like I played too fast there with the double supporter," and I was like, okay, like I literally couldn't stop him. We had a crowd watching and everything, and like he literally went like Mallow, trade, judged, and shoveled his hand, and I was like, oh, cool. So, and then I won top 4 pretty quickly then. Going to finals against Jose playing Vicaray. The matchup was very simple. I have to kill the Grubbins or I pretty much lose. Game 1, I killed the Grubbin twice and he scooped. Game 2, he set up an early March out of GX and I scooped. Game 3, I missed a crucial Guzman on the Grubbin, but then he marched out of us both, and then I had nothing except a full blitz. And so he marched out of us both, and he went nest ball for the march out of GX, pass, and then I went knockout with full blitz, put 3 on the active with weakness policy because I Vulcaned for it. And then I said, what do you got? Do you have the... he needed to have energy plus labs for knockout, and Lysander labs, and he went draw for turn, and he's like... energy, strong charge, Lysander labs, and I pretty much scooped there, because like... Then he like told me the rest of his hand. He showed me the rest of his hand was completely dead. He's like, when I marched out, I hit the Lysander labs, and I was like, okay, cool, I can win this. And he was like, I was really scared that you put the energy on something else, and then going with the Coco GX because I didn't have an answer after that, and I was like, I literally had nothing else to put the energy on, because my game 3, that March Shadow like really boned me. So I lost finals to Jose, which is, I mean, if there's anyone to lose to, I'm fine losing to Jose, and that puts me at 12-8, pretty much locking up my top 16 spot, I think. And thank you guys all for watching. I will keep doing more tournament reports, like cup reports, challenge reports. Daytona's coming up, so I'll do a report for that. But thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you want more content, and thank you.